do fathers in the public service feel about paternity leave? In recent years, several male civil servants have made their opinions known about paternity leave. There is one bargaining group in particular that has been pushing for this to become a reality for Jamaicans in the public sector. Today, we speak to a father who is also a public servant to get his thoughts on paternity leave in the public sector. Welcome to the MoFPS Coffee and Conversations, where we share the experiences of our public servants as they navigate a life of service. I am your host, Shaquille Rochester Shorter. Follow the ministry on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. Look for MOF Jamaica or the Ministry of Finance Jamaica. Today, we take several sips of coffee and have a conversation with Cebert Mitchell, a father of 3 and also a grandfather. He started his tenure in the civil service in 1985 with the Post and Telecommunications Department and was subsequently transferred to the Jamaica Customs Agency in 1994. He has been with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service since 2015 in a consultancy post as a technical specialist in tax reform in the Taxation Policy Division. Cebert is a consummate public servant, having spent almost 4 decades in the public sector. No doubt he's qualified to share his views on paternity leave in government. Cebert, welcome. Before we get into all this discussion, how involved are you as a father?
Very involved. Well, I should no longer be all that involved because my sons are all in their 30s. But I'm very involved with my grandson, who's 7 years old.
What is he like?
Oh, Lord. I was hoping he wouldn't be like his grandfather, but he looks like me and he certainly behaves like me.
I'll take that as a good thing.
Yes, it's not all that bad. He thinks he's my grandfather, actually.
Well, Cebert, paternity leave is available in some private sector entities, right? Do you think the public service should implement same?
This discussion has been going on from I joined the public service. It has not been implemented for several reasons, but certainly it would help. It seemed the current policy seemed a little discriminatory, but you can understand. I mean, it is obvious when a woman is pregnant.
Yes.
When a man is fathering a child, an unborn child, then certainly there's no way to show. So, those are some of the technicalities I'm sure that the technocrats and the policymakers have been looking at, which would have caused a delay in such implementation. But as I said earlier, certainly we need to look seriously at this issue and implement as quickly as possible.
Well, Cebert, you just said that females, that they're pregnant. So that leads me to my next question now. Do you believe that an adoptive father should be granted paternity leave?
Yes, I have no challenge with that. Let me tell you, there are a number of issues that will have to be worked through. First of all, paternity leave doesn't have to be granted at the same time as maternity leave.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if they are granted consecutively, then it certainly provides more benefit to the family and to the child. So in the time, in whatever time frame is determined, that you do your checks and balances, whether you have DNA checks, whether you check the validity of an adoption, etc. There will be time to do all of that, and then possibly when the mother is returning to work, the father would take on the role of nurturing that child for whatever period the policymakers determine.
Okay. How having paternity leave would have benefited you back in your time?
It have benefited me tremendously. Let me tell you, I have a very interesting story. My son's mom, she has a heart condition.
Okay.
So she had to be admitted almost a month before it was time for her to have the child. When it was time for her to have the child, they had to induce labor.
Wow.
So, that was another issue. Having gone through, I had the child, she would have been extremely tired. She would have been more tired than the normal mom. As a matter of fact, I used to refer to myself as the breast man, and I'm going to tell you why. Because at nights, when she went to bed, it was my responsibility. Well, first of all, I would have to have her take out the appropriate breast. And it was my responsibility to put my son on whenever he woke up and started
And she
bawling.
would be sleeping?
And she would be sleeping. So whenever the opportunity arose and she just opened her eyes for a little while, then I would have her change. She would take out the other one, and it went on for the entire night.
Wow.
So I was a very, very tired young father.
So paternity leave would have been
Paternity
very
leave
beneficial
would have been
at that
perfect
time.
for me.
Wow.
And at the time, I had a very responsible job at the post office. I was a supervisor in the accounts branch at the time. And I was also serving in the 3rd Battalion, the National Reserve. So, straddling family and those two jobs, so to speak, it was terribly difficult.
Now, Cebert, what issues do you think will affect the administration of paternity leave in the public sector?
Well, incidentally, I'm in a suit just now. And, this issue of jacket, will have to come into the conversation. Because these are some of the challenges that we will face. We will have to establish, first of all, that the person who's purporting to be a dad or the person requesting paternity leave is in fact the dad.
Yes.
It is going to be difficult for you to ensure that that person is going to utilize the leave in the way intended.
Yeah.
But I think most well-thinking dads, once they get that benefit, it in itself would evoke their thoughts into doing what is right. And of course, you have the moms who are going to say to them that, listen to me now, government gave you the leave, and I'm going to insist that you use it,
yes,
or else. So,
yes,
there are ways to treat with it.
Thank you, Cebert, for sharing your stories and views on public sector fathers getting paternity leave. I am sure that many people share your sentiments and are looking forward to paternity leave being a reality in the public sector. Do you want to share your feedback on paternity leave in government? Send an email to pedroid.garvey@mof.gov.jm at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. We thank you for tuning in to this episode of MoFPS Coffee and Conversations. We aim to share the experiences of public servants as they navigate a life of service. Real people, real stories. If you haven't checked us out yet or been following us on social media, be sure to do so. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. Search for MOF Jamaica or the Ministry of Finance Jamaica. Until next time, I am your host, Shaquille Rochester Shorter.